So welcome, Scott. So excited to have you on the Business Spotlight interview. Very excited for you to dig into kind of your story, where you started, and I'm going to really pass it over to you to introduce yourself and kick that off.
Fantastic. Thanks, Julie, for having me. So, yeah, a little background on me. I've been a deal guy for 30 years. I started on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in the early 80s, moved to San Francisco in 86, worked as an investment banker, taking companies public. 96, 93, in the middle of the dot-com boom, I set up my own incubator and was fortunate to have four companies exit between 93 and 2000. Since 2000, I've been running my own accelerator called Black Dog Venture Partners, and we work with early stage, primarily technology companies to help them raise their capital, scale their business, and help them eventually exit or sell their business. Traveling around the world, I moved to Florida, St. Pete, a year ago, and been working with startups and investors and entrepreneurs in the local area.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And, what was the choice to go in the IT route? How did you end up kind of in that specific space with your background?
Well, I think I really started out as a technology founder.
Mm.
I ran a couple of companies in San Francisco that did very well. And then really it's especially that I learned about over the last 30 years in business. And, in terms of technology is primarily software, SaaS companies, cybersecurity, AI. We also work with consumer products and other companies, but mostly we work with early stage companies to help them become bigger companies.
Very cool. Yeah, and of course, IT is forever now, at least over a decade, been that space that always has something new coming. So
Sure.
whenever people say they've only been in CP for a short while, I'm always curious, what drew you here out of anywhere that you could have gone?
Well, I was a Tom Brady refugee. I came out here with the Super Bowl a few years ago, fell in love with the place, and I just love the culture, the community here in St. Pete, and there's obviously great companies for us to look at from an investment standpoint and a development standpoint.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And I'm assuming you really help companies nationwide. It's just not in this area.
Yeah, we've worked with literally hundreds of companies. We've raised billions of dollars for companies, helped 30 companies exit from around the country and around the world.
Okay, wonderful. And so we know it's IT, you listed some specifics, but is there something like a criteria that makes you a good fit? Because there's obviously a lot of money getting pumped in that space as well. And so how do you know a good fit for you and a good fit for them?
Well, I mean, a good fit for me is, especially when you're dealing with early stage companies, are the founders and who's running the company. Because I think ideas are a dime a dozen, but you need people that have to execute on those ideas. So that's primarily one of the first things we look at. And then obviously we look at things like their technology, their IP, and their business model and how they're going to make money as a business. And the reality is for us, we're primarily early stage companies, but we want to work with founders that have aspirations to become bigger companies, but also have the experience and some of the background to do it.
Very cool. So how do they know if you're a good fit? What's some of the things that they're looking for in a partner that you guys are really good at?
Well, I think the things that we're good at is one, raising capital, helping companies fund their business. Two, helping them grow their business. I've taken companies from my spare bedroom to trade on the stock exchange. So I think if they're looking for somebody who knows how to take a small business and make it big, I'm the right guy. Now, I'm originally from New York. I'm a bit of an A-type personality, so you better be ready to hustle because that's all I do.
Awesome. Yeah. So ready to talk fast, think fast, and work fast.
Exactly.
I can translate that pretty well.
Sure.
So just to step back from things a little bit, because you've been in the industry a long time, what have you really seen shifting? What are some changes you've seen, especially in IT? There was so much that changed through COVID and even the last year, and with AI. What do you really see as like the big thing that's shifted and it's going to be sticking around as kind of the next thing, maybe even you're looking towards?
Yeah, well, I think obviously, technology is always evolving and the market is always evolving and changing. Obviously, from a technology standpoint, artificial intelligence, AI is obviously a very big buzzword, but there's a lot of things happening in the life sciences, in terms of developing better, faster drugs. There's a lot still happening, although it's a little out of favor in the Web3 space. And we're in an interesting time in the environment. The economy is cyclical. So, we're at this part of the economy from a investor or angel investor standpoint where companies that had an idea 18 months ago could raise a lot of money. Now they have to have a little bit more than just an idea to raise capital in this environment.
Yeah. So that part of it has surely shifted. Anything in the way that you approach business has shifted? Are you capitalizing on new IT or new ways of doing things?
Absolutely. That's the core of our business.
Mm.
My job is to be as far on the left side of the bell curve as possible to take advantage of trends. So we're always doing.
Always looking for next things. I know you mentioned hustle, and we were kind of kidding about like thinking fast, talking fast, but truly, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, early stage or not, are really looking for how do I hit it big? How do I become the next, Facebook or Instagram? And so, what are you seeing as like, what does hustle really mean to you that would help them understand what that
Well,
takes?
I think the primary thing is that a lot of companies, primarily technology startups, they get caught up in raising money, which in some cases is very needed. But the reality is, I tell a lot of companies the best way to raise capital is go sell something, build your
Okay.
business. If you build your business, people will eventually find you. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are now learning that you can't just raise millions upon millions of dollars and wait to build something. I'm a big believer, build your 1.0 version, get to the point where you actually have product market fit, understand who your customers are, and sell something. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's the big thing that I see and recommendation I make with primarily technology entrepreneurs today.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm sure you're an avid learner because you know how important that is. Is there any references, authors, books, things that would be a good start for people to go to?
Yeah, probably. Ironically, probably one of the best books I've ever read was written a long time ago. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and it's by
Yeah.
Thomas Daly. When I was many years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was a retail stockbroker, and I learned that people that have money don't always show that they have money, and people that don't have money sometimes like to appear to have money. And so I think it's really important to really understand, the cultural aspect of money and wealth. And I think that was a really good book for that.
Mm,
And I've worked with several authors. I've worked with Sharon Lechter from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's
yeah.
obviously an excellent book. Excellent
Exit
book.
Rich recently was amazing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then Reed from LinkedIn, great book,
Mm,
the Power of You.
okay.
Actually, I taught
Yeah.
that at the university level while I was
Nice.
during COVID. So
Very cool. Those are some great ones you just mentioned. I forgot about the Millionaire Next Door. I love that. Thanks for bringing that back up again.
sure,
There's so many greats from the past, aren't there, that just need to
absolutely.
be reread and revisited. So, for you, what's kind of like your one piece of advice after reviewing probably hundreds of thousands of businesses that you don't take to market, you don't take on as a client? What do you really give advice? What do you see as like the fallacy or the thing that they're not focused on enough, or what they should really strive for?
Well, I think the problem is that I work in the world of companies that are trying to solve big problems,
Mm,
and I think you have to really have a problem worth solving and worth
mm,
solving for enough people, especially to become investable. And that's I think the one challenge. I think sometimes you hear phrases like "I have no competition." If I hear that, I immediately shut off. Everyone has some form of competition.
yeah,
Um, I also shut off if someone says, "If I can get 1% of the market, I'll be a trillionaire." You've got to be realistic about your assumptions. But at the end of the day, it comes down to having a real problem that's really painful for a lot of people. And that's how you get a successful, fundable business.
that's awesome. What's the thing that gets you up in the morning? Like, what piece of this is so exciting for you that you just
I
jump out of
just love dealing with new companies and new startups all the time. I've told people I've unsuccessfully retired twice
bed?
because I just love what I do. I get to work with leading edge companies, intelligent startups, a great network of investors that I've developed over the last 30 years. So it's always something different. It's always something new. And I've never been a cubicle guy or an office guy, so it gets me out there talking to people all the time.
That's awesome. And what's your big vision? What's next? What keeps you pushing to grow yourself?
My vision, when I moved to Florida and St. Pete in particular, I was planning to retire. But then I saw a lot of opportunities with companies here
Mm,
in the city and the state. And so my mission is really to bring the capital that I have relationships with in the West Coast to local and Florida-based companies. So that's
very
really kind
cool.
of my agenda over the next couple of years.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, hopefully someone seeing this will be one of the next superstars that you work with, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Or is there free content people could be looking at on
Sure.
your website?
Yeah, obviously, my website is Black Dog Venture Partners. If you want to pitch at one of my upcoming events, you can go to vcfastpitch.com. And then on all social media channels, you can find me at Black Dog CEO.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for all your knowledge and your story, and really appreciate it, Scott. And hopefully I'll see you around the community.
My pleasure. Thank you.